Katie often felt nostalgic for her youth. Memories of carefree days under the Florida sun filled her thoughts, especially when she was alone. Growing up in a small town with familiar faces and routines contrasted sharply with her complex adult life. As she navigated life's challenges, Katie reflected on past relationships and the lessons they taught her. Each encounter and heartbreak shaped her into the woman she was today, leaving lasting marks on her heart. Katie glanced at the clock, noting it was 1 p.m. on a Saturday. Drinking wine this early was unusual for her, but today was an exception. Her eyes rested on a slender red box on the coffee table, a recent arrival that brought sorrow rather than joy. She took the box to her bedroom, placing it on the bed before opening the closet. After rummaging through shoes and keepsake boxes, she found a plastic case containing rows of boxes in various colors. She added the red box to the row and wondered why she couldn't part with these items. By chance, she opened the third box and found a postcard and a CD. She played the CD, and When I Fall in Love by the Letterman filled the room. She read the card, knowing who had sent it, recalling the time she received it with a large bouquet at work. Her coworkers had gathered around to see who sent the flowers. Katie confidently played the CD, and the office girls teased her, curious about the card's message. She read aloud, "When I give my heart, I give it all. Otherwise, I'll never fall in love. And the moment I feel it that you feel it too, that's when I fall in love with you." The girls were silent, then returned to work. Grace, one of her colleagues, remarked, "This is a special guy. I'm jealous. Does he have a brother?" Katie smiled, thinking maybe she did have something special. But John Williams, her first love, always lingered in her mind. He had taken her to prom, shared her first closeness moments, and left a lasting impact. After he went to Stanford, their contact dwindled and eventually stopped, leaving Katie heartbroken. She dropped out of school and worked a mundane job at Allstate Insurance. Her days were routine and unfulfilling, with only evening walks with her friend Lisa providing some relief. She hoped to hear from John, but learned he was dating someone else, which explained the silence. Despite the heartbreak, she fantasized about a life with him, imagining herself as Mrs. Dr. John Williams. Though she tried to move on, John's memory lingered, always present in her thoughts. Katie had always been attractive, not conventionally beautiful, but with a natural sensuality that drew men to her. Even while dating John, other men often hit on her. She stood 5'5" with long brown hair parted in the middle. After ending things with John, she had several relationships, but only one lasted 5 months. Her lingering feelings for John made her feel guilty, impacting most of her relationships. At 25, Katie met Tom, who was different from her past boyfriends. Tom had joined the Army at 18, serving in Iraq, Germany, and Afghanistan before retiring. He opened an auto repair shop in Florida near Katie's workplace. Tom first saw Katie when she came in with her friend Lisa. She wore a white low-cut top with black polka dots, a short black miniskirt, and high heels, captivating Tom instantly. "Hi," Katie called out. "Anybody here?" Tom emerged from his office and offered to help with her car, which wouldn't start and was parked nearby. He fixed it quickly by tightening a loose wire. Katie thanked him with a kiss on the cheek and invited him to dinner as repayment. Tom, flustered and intrigued, eagerly accepted. Katie momentarily thought of John but dismissed the regret, feeling a connection with Tom. She gave him her business card, asking him to call for directions. Tom, thrilled, promised to call. As Katie and Lisa left, Lisa expressed concern, but Katie reassured her. She promised to call Lisa after the date for safety. Both laughed, and Katie told Tom to arrive at 7 p.m. He arrived early, but waited until exactly 7 to knock. Katie, stirring sauce on the stove, checked her outfit in the mirror and smiled as she heard him knock again, enjoying making him wait. Kathy called out, "I'll be right there." Tom sighed with relief as the door opened, revealing a smiling Kathy. She invited him in, and he handed her a bottle of wine and a small bouquet of flowers. She thanked him, put the flowers in a vase, and he admired her beauty. She wore a white blouse tucked into tight black jeans and was barefoot, which Tom found incredibly alluring. They had chicken cacciatore with spaghetti, made with her homemade sauce. The meal was delicious, and their conversation flowed easily. They shared stories about their pasts and dreams for the future. Tom learned Katie had a college degree and a talent for watercolor painting, with some of her art hanging in her home. Kathy listened to his military service stories, feeling both moved and saddened. Tom revealed he owned 3 auto repair stores, including the one Kathy visited. He had contracts with major rental car companies, the U.S. government, and local businesses. The store where they met was his largest, with 10 bays, including one for high-end cars like Ferraris. Tom was pleased he had forgotten to lock up that day, allowing their meeting to happen. Tom talked about his home, a 3-bedroom house he bought 2 years ago on the outskirts of town. Kathy felt her hunch about him was right. They spent the evening eating, drinking wine, and playing games. As the night ended, Kathy boldly asked Tom to stay longer. Though tempted, he declined, wanting to take things slow and build a genuine connection. Kathy appreciated his approach, seeing it as a promise of something real. Tom went home but couldn't sleep, thinking about Kathy and what they could be doing. Meanwhile, Kathy called Lisa to share the details of the evening, including her bold request and Tom's respectful refusal. Lisa was shocked he turned her down and joked that he must be gay. Kathy laughed, assuring her that his goodnight kiss proved otherwise. Tom tossed and turned while Kathy slept soundly, feeling as if he were with her. 4 months later, Tom realized he loved Kathy, who had known much sooner. A year later, they married in a small ceremony with friends and family and moved into Tom's house on Kensington Street. Kathy was lost in pleasant memories, putting away the disc she had just played. She picked up a gold case special to her, which she received on her wedding day. As she got ready with her bridesmaids, a FedEx courier delivered the box. They found a CD player, and Kathy played the CD while reading the card inside. The song So Much in Love by Times played, bringing tears to her eyes. Her bridesmaid Lisa warned her not to cry and ruin her makeup. Everyone laughed, averting a makeup crisis. At the church, Kathy saw Tom in his tuxedo, feeling proud and lucky. She vowed to make him happy. Remembering this, her smile faded, feeling she had let him down. She quickly put the card and CD back in the gold box and moved on to the silver one. She played a disc from the silver box, recalling their first wedding anniversary. She had prepared all day, including a salon visit and a Brazilian waxing, which Tom had hinted he would love. When Tom arrived home, she descended the stairs, mesmerizing him. He dropped the silver box, and its contents spilled out. He picked it up, knelt in front of her, and handed her a jewelry box, saying, "Happy anniversary, my love." Inside was a 16-inch diamond necklace. Kathy was delighted and asked him to put it on her. She admired it in the mirror, feeling it was the most beautiful gift she had ever received. Tom, overjoyed by her happiness, watched her with love. He then played a CD from the box, completing the memory of their special day. "May I have this dance, beautiful lady?" Tom asked, holding Kathy's hands. "You look stunning tonight." Frank Sinatra's The Way You Look Tonight played in the background. They danced, feeling the love between them. When the song ended, Tom suggested skipping dinner and heading to the bedroom. Kathy laughed. "No way. I've spent too much time and money getting ready. We're going out." Tom persisted. "All I need is you." "We can eat afterward," Kathy replied. "You once said anticipation makes things better." Tom conceded with a smile, knowing he couldn't win this one. They enjoyed a delightful dinner at a Japanese steakhouse, followed by a comedy show, and then danced and talked at a piano bar. On the way home, the anticipation between them was electric. Katie cherished this memory, recalling how perfect the night was. She took out a diamond choker from her jewelry box, kissed it, and felt a tear roll down her cheek. Returning it, she moved to another silver box and played a disc of Nat King Cole's Unforgettable. On their second anniversary, she had surprised Tom by waiting in a sheer negligee. When he arrived, he brought 2 boxes. She insisted on opening the boxes first, revealing a diamond bracelet and earrings. She asked him to put them on her, then handed him a disc to play. They spent the evening enjoying each other's company, ending with pizza and wine. Tom smiled. "This is even better than last year." Kathy agreed, "Maybe we should repeat the workout." They often did, savoring their special moments together. The next morning, Kathy read Tom's message on the card. "Unforgettable in every way and forever. That's how you'll stay. That's why, darling. It's incredible that someone so unforgettable thinks I'm unforgettable too." Katie remembered that night and the pale blue negligee now lost during the move. She wished she still had it, as it held special memories. Putting away the card and disc, she approached the last white box, avoiding the painful blue ones for now. The last white box represented innocence lost, at least for Tom, as Katie had started seeing John again, her first lover. 5 months after their second anniversary, John, now Dr. Williams, re-entered Kathy's life when he visited her office. The moment they saw each other, old feelings resurfaced. John suggested lunch to catch up, and Kathy agreed, ignoring the disapproving looks from her colleagues who adored Tom and sensed trouble. Kathy's lunch with John was more than a reunion. It reignited her fantasy of him. She told herself it was innocent, but deep down, she knew she was willing to betray her marriage. When she returned, Lisa confronted her, worried about the gossip and implications. Kathy insisted it was just lunch, but Lisa, seeing through her, reminded her of John's past betrayal and warned her about ruining her marriage. Kathy promised to avoid jeopardizing her marriage, but Lisa remained doubtful. Despite the promise, Kathy's desire for John lingered, threatening her relationship with Tom. Lisa, feeling she had done her best, urged Kathy to get back to work. For the first few weeks, Kathy and John just had lunch and pleasant conversations. Then they started having drinks after work when Tom stayed late, which led to date nights with drinks. John took his time, aiming to get Kathy back, unsure if it was love but unbothered by her marriage. Kathy, on the other hand, couldn't resist meeting John when Tom had to travel to Pittsburgh for a business conference. Tom asked Kathy to join him, but she declined, using it as an excuse to see John. While Tom was away for 5 days, John and Kathy spent their time together, completing the betrayal. Once Tom's flight departed, Kathy invited John to their house, and they spent 5 days and 6 nights together in Tom's bed. John, an experienced seducer, quickly won Kathy over. By the end of the week, Kathy planned to leave Tom for John, who would soon move into a new house. Saturday morning, after John left, a florist delivered a bouquet with a white box from Tom. It contained a CD with the song 6 Days on the Road, which Tom had planned as a surprise. Kathy was touched but anxious about keeping her affair secret for 2 weeks. Tom returned home at 4 p.m., eager to see his wife. Expecting a romantic welcome, he was surprised and delighted to find Kathy waiting for him with a kiss and a hug. Tom, filled with anticipation, hoped to fulfill his desires with his wife after 6 days apart. "I'm already tired. Maybe tonight, okay?" Kathy suggested. "Maybe tonight," Tom muttered, confused. Who is this woman? And what has she done to my wife? Feeling dejected, he put away his suitcases, sorted the laundry, and stored the toiletries. He then went to the kitchen, where Kathy was cooking. When he tried to hug her, she pulled away, saying, "Not now. I'm trying to cook. Just leave me alone." Tom, feeling rejected, sat in the living room, pondering the change in his wife. Something had happened while he was away, and she wouldn't talk about it. Kathy felt guilty and couldn't meet his eyes. She peeked into the living room, seeing Tom staring out the window, knowing he suspected something. After dinner, he dragged her to the bedroom. Afterward, he showered, dressed, and left the house, returning only on Sunday night. When he returned, Kathy asked, "Where did you spend the night?" "I had paperwork at the store," he snapped. Kathy said, "I was worried you didn't call." He retorted, "Don't you have a phone? Are your fingers broken?" They said nothing more that evening. Kathy put the disc away, feeling the reunion had gone terribly wrong. She had cheated and felt guilty. She picked up the first of the blue boxes, dreading the pain inside. Opening it, she found a CD, but no card. She inserted the disc, recalling when she received it with a bouquet of lavender flowers, the symbol of distrust. Reluctantly, she played the disc, which began with a Bob Seger song. "I know it's late. I know you're tired. I know I'm not in your plans. All my hopes are fading now we have everything. Let's make it last. Let's find a way. Why don't you stay?" The office girls, having seen her with John, listened disapprovingly. Rose, an older colleague, asked, "Katie, what have you done?" Katie, deciding there was no point in hiding it, said, "I'm leaving Tom. In 2 weeks, I'll be moving in with John." Rose replied, "I think you're making a huge mistake. Your husband is crazy about you. The new man won't last. Stop before it's too late. He already suspects something." Katie said defiantly, "It'll be your loss if he goes." Rose shook her head and left. Grace and Lisa stayed. Grace asked, "Are you really planning on leaving Tom?" Katie angrily replied, "Yes." Grace nodded and walked away. Lisa, disappointed, said, "You didn't take my advice. Don't come crying to me when everything goes to hell." She then left too. Kathy believed her relationship with John would be worth it and felt sure she made the right choice. She put the CD away, thinking about why she hadn't listened to Lisa. In the evening, Kathy came home and criticized Tom for the song, yelling, "Why did you send me this? I'm your wife." "Really?" he hissed. "You seem more interested in someone else on Saturday. The postcard and the disc just matched my thoughts." "You're wrong, Tom, just wrong," she retorted, knowing he was right. She couldn't admit the truth and felt guilty. She brushed away a tear and put the box away, her fingers pausing over the second blue box. She remembered getting that box the day after the Bob Seger song. It was on the porch when she got home. She quickly took it inside to play before John arrived. Inside was a letter from Tom, expressing his heartbreak and confusion. The CD played Ronnie Milsap's "Stranger in My House." Kathy didn't call Tom, stunned by his clarity. She realized she had never told him the truth, avoiding the answer even to herself. Kathy picked up the third blue box, knowing it was the worst. Tom had been spending more nights at the office, leaving her and John with opportunities to meet. One Friday, believing Tom wouldn't be home, she called John to come over. Unbeknownst to her, Tom was planning to come home that night with a CD and flowers to save their marriage. Tom left his store at 8:30, drove home, and saw a strange car in front of his house. He parked a few houses down and quietly entered his home with flowers and a white box. As he walked through the house, he heard voices and the movement of the bed from upstairs. The memory of their first anniversary filled his mind until the noise shattered his hope, turning his mood dark. Tom climbed the stairs, carefully avoiding the creaky fifth step. When he reached the bedroom door, sweat trickled down his face. Slowly opening the door, he saw his worst fears realized. Kathy in bed with another man, John Williams, her first love. Tears filled Tom's eyes. His heart broke. He knew he could confront John, but decided against it, fearing legal consequences and Kathy's potential testimony against him. Instead, he walked downstairs, leaving the flowers and the broken CD on the kitchen table, then slammed the door as he left. Upstairs, Kathy heard the noise and asked John, "Did you hear that?" John dismissed it, wanting to continue. Kathy insisted, got up, put on her robe, and went downstairs. Seeing the flowers and broken CD, she realized Tom knew. She felt terrible, having never meant to hurt him this way, though she had planned to leave him. John came down, saw the flowers, and sneered, "How pathetic." Kathy didn't agree, but said nothing. Tom stayed away for a week, and John practically moved in. Kathy regretted not having that broken disc, as it symbolized the beginning of her downfall. She inserted a disc into the player, reading the card. Roy Orbison's "Running Scared" played, with a message asking, "Will you leave with him, or will you stay with me?" She recalled receiving the box, delivered by courier with no flowers. At work, her colleagues urged her to play the CD, but she refused, knowing the blue box signaled bad news. After work, sitting in her car, Kathy hesitated to open the box. Her friend Lisa and a colleague, Rose, approached and offered to listen with her without judgment. Kathy agreed, letting them into the car. In silence, she played the disc and read the card, sharing the painful moment with her friends. Lisa cried as she read the card and listened to the song, feeling Tom's pain and fear of losing Kathy. He had poured his heart out and informed her that he would be returning home on Saturday morning, asking her to decide by then. At the end of the card, he wrote, "I hope you choose me." Rose asked, "Kathy, what are your plans?" "I'm leaving with John on Saturday morning," Kathy replied. Rose nodded sadly. "I wish I had a man who loved me enough to ask me back even after cheating." Katie replied, "Rose, haven't you been divorced twice?" "Yes," Rose said, "but I realized too late that Chet, my first husband, was the love of my life." "I believe John is the one for me," Kathy insisted. Lisa thanked Kathy for sharing and promised secrecy. Kathy returned home to discuss plans with John. "Leave and let him come home to an empty house," John suggested. "I owe it to him to tell him face to face," Kathy insisted. "Do it by Saturday," John instructed. At 9:45 a.m. on Saturday, Kathy sat at the kitchen table with packed suitcases by the door. Tom arrived at 10 o'clock, saw the suitcases, and knew her decision. Ignoring her, he got a beer and sat across from her. "I guess you've answered the question," he said. "What question?" Kathy asked. "You're leaving with him," Tom replied. "Yes," she admitted. "Then it's useless to fight for you." "I'm sorry, Tom," she whispered. "I think it's time for you to get out of my house," he said coldly. "Will you help me take my stuff outside?" "It's your decision to go. Carry your damn bags yourself," Tom replied. Shocked, Kathy carried her bags to the porch and texted John to pick her up. She wanted to explain, but Tom had shut her out. As she looked back at the house, she saw Tom sobbing silently in the kitchen. When he noticed her, he angrily removed her rings and threw them on the table. Tom walked to the window, met her eyes, and slowly closed the blinds, filled with hate. Kathy feared for both Tom and John, knowing Tom wouldn't be easily defeated. John arrived, loudly insulting Tom as he carried Kathy's bags. Kathy was relieved Tom didn't confront John as they drove away. "I hoped we could part as friends," Kathy thought, but that was not to be. She tried to put the confrontation behind her and felt happy to be with her long-lost love, John. ready to start a new life and make him happy. Kathy placed the disc and card back into the blue box and returned it to its place. It's ironic, she mused. She had told Tom she would do everything to make him happy, but it failed. She pulled out the next blue box, remembering it painfully well. It contained a CD, but no card, reminding her of Tom's cousin Janice and her wedding day. At the wedding, Janice had confronted Kathy, asking if she truly loved Tom and warning her not to hurt him. Janice had shared Tom's painful past, losing his mother to cancer at 7, his father's subsequent problem with drinking booze and end of life, and feeling like a burden to his adoptive family. Tom had grown up isolated and tough, with a reputation for fighting. Kathy recalled Janice mentioning Tom's scars. Tom had told Kathy they were from military shrapnel, except for a knife wound from defending Janice in a bar fight. Janice recounted the incident. Tom had saved her from 2 aggressive men at a bar, cementing her protective feelings towards him. Kathy had never known this about Tom and felt even more love for him, promising Janice she would never hurt him. Reflecting on this, Kathy thought with regret, this was another promise I had not kept. Kathy remembered the day that box had arrived at her office. It came via FedEx the Monday after their confrontation. There were no flowers this time. She figured Tom thought she no longer deserved them. After work, she played the CD for Lisa and Rosa in the car. The song had no card, so they asked about its meaning. Kathy shared her story, her family's end of lives, her loveless upbringing, and how Tom had given her the love and acceptance she never had. The Bee Gees' To Love Somebody played, "There's a light, a certain light that never shone on me before. In my brain, I see your face again. I'm a man, can't you see what I'm like? I live and breathe for you. But what good is that if I don't have you? Don't have you, baby. You don't know what it's like to love someone the way I love you." Tears streamed down Kathy's cheeks as she finally understood. She was the light Tom needed, but she had stolen his love. Regret filled her. If she had known then what she knew now, she would still be married to Tom. She put the box back and pulled out the last white box, recalling its arrival the Friday after the Bee Gees CD. As Kathy, Lisa, and Rosa left work, they heard someone yell, "Kathy, wait!" Turning, they saw Tom running towards them in his usual tight blue jeans, blue short-sleeve shirt, and work boots. Kathy admitted to herself that he looked good. Rose whispered, "If he were mine, I don't think I could throw him back." Kathy shot her a scornful look as Tom approached, holding a white box in his left hand. "Hi," Tom said. Kathy watched him look her over, starting at her knees and slowly rising to her eyes. After a moment, he turned to Rose and Lisa, nodding in greeting. They nodded back. Tom then said to Kathy, "You look good." "Thank you," Kathy replied. An awkward silence followed. Finally, Tom spoke. "Kathy, I need to talk to you for a few minutes. Do you mind?" "I don't know, Tom. I have to go home. John will be waiting for me," Kathy replied. "It will only take a few minutes. Surely you can spare 5 minutes for an old friend." Realizing he didn't want to fight, Kathy agreed. Tom asked Rose and Lisa, "I want to talk to Kathy alone. I hope you don't mind." He began walking Kathy to her car, but Rose and Lisa followed. Noticing this, Tom smiled and said, "Looks like I'll have to do this in front of you." Turning to Kathy, he said, "Please let me finish without interrupting. I have to say everything, or I won't be able to finish, okay?" Kathy nodded. Tom began, "I know I don't have a college degree, and I'm not good at expressing my feelings. I've tried to show my love through songs and meaningful lyrics, but I failed. I loved you more than you'll ever know, and was happy with our life. I didn't see your unhappiness, and I'm sorry. I want you to have this." He handed her a box. "This is my last gift to you. If you don't respond to the song, I won't bother you again. I'll never come to your workplace or your new home. If I see you on the street, it will be random. If your car breaks down, you can bring it in, and I'll charge you this time." Kathy smiled, remembering their first meeting. "That's all I wanted to say," he added. He started to leave, but then turned back. "One more thing. Thank you for 3 wonderful years, the best of my life. I'll always remember you with love." Finally, Tom addressed Rose and Lisa. "Ladies, I'm glad Kathy has friends like you. I know you'll look out for her. I'm surprised you think I'd do anything to hurt her." His voice broke at hurt, but he continued, "This is goodbye. I wish you both the best." Rose, crying, hugged Tom and promised to let him know if anyone bothered Kathy. Lisa did the same. Tom walked away without looking back, hiding his tears. Rose turned to Kathy and said, "If you let him go after that, John must be decent." Lisa, who thought John was a cretin, shook her head, still believing Kathy was making a mistake. The three of them got into Kathy's car to listen to the CD. Once again, there was no card or note. Kathy hesitated before inserting it into the player, looking at Rose and Lisa, and asked, "Should I listen to it?" Lisa replied, "Suit yourself. I'm not getting involved." Rose spoke up. "After he poured his heart out, you owe it to yourself to listen. You owe him that." Kathy, driven by curiosity, slid the disc into the player. The Beatles' "That Boy" played. Tom felt it captured his situation perfectly. Someone had taken Kathy from him. John wanted her, but not like Tom did. Despite her betrayal, Tom would still take her back, believing John would eventually hurt her. As Kathy listened to the song, she realized its significance. Tom and the Beatles were right. That boy took my love away. She didn't understand or believe it then. Tom's efforts to communicate through songs had failed. She placed the Beatles record back, remembering Tom's words. Kathy recalled receiving the first white box on a Sunday morning while heading to the mall with Lisa. Tom had planned a picnic for the afternoon, and Kathy wanted new clothes. As they drove, Lisa asked, "How's it going with your mechanic?" Kathy, annoyed, replied, "He's not just a mechanic. He has his own business." "Calm down, I was joking." "So, what's going on between you two?" Lisa asked. "He loves me. I can tell by the way he smiles when he sees me. He always takes care of my car and waits for me with lunch. He's protective and treats me well," Kathy said. "And how do you know that?" Lisa inquired. "He hasn't said it yet, but I think he's waiting for me to make the first move. He's shy around women." "And you? Do you love him?" Lisa asked. "I'm not sure. It's been so long since I felt anything like love," Kathy replied. "Not being sure won't work with a guy like Tom. You need to be certain. Do you love him?" Lisa pressed. Kathy hesitated. "I think I do, but John is still on my mind." Lisa, frustrated with hearing about John, said, "John deceived you. He left and never came back. Tom loves you and is here. If you want to keep him, you need to make up your mind soon, or you'll lose him." Kathy thought about Lisa's words. She believed she loved Tom, but couldn't shake thoughts of John. Still, she didn't want to lose Tom, knowing he was the best for her. That evening, Kathy prepared for their date at River Park. Tom brought food, wine, and a blanket for their picnic. They had a great day, but Tom had to leave early for a business meeting with Avis. "I know you have to go. Will you call me tomorrow after the meeting?" Kathy asked. Tom kissed her. "You can count on it." After he left, Kathy changed into comfortable clothes. Later, the doorbell rang. Surprised, she saw Tom at the door and opened it. Pleasantly surprised. "Did you forget something?" Kathy asked, panting. "Yes, you," he replied. He embraced her and kissed her. Then he stepped back and held a thin white box for her to see. "Tomorrow, I meet an influential business partner. I can speak confidently with him, but with you, I struggle," Tom stuttered. He handed her the box and said, "I hope this shows how I feel. Call me anytime." Kathy took the box and watched him drive away. Inside, she found a CD and a note. She inserted the CD and a Randy Travis song played. "Can I trust you with my heart?" The note had the same line. That night, she called Tom and said, "Yes." Tom asked, "What?" "You can trust me with your heart," she replied. "I'll be right back," Tom shouted into the phone. He rushed back, picked her up, and carried her inside. "I love you, Kathy," he said. "I feel the same way," Kathy replied. They made love for the first time that night, but she hadn't said, "I love you too." Remembering that night, Kathy cried, realizing she had loved him all along, but it was too late. Kathy set aside the white box and pulled out the black one. It had been 3 weeks since she last spoke to Tom. True to her word, she hadn't seen or heard from him. Friday morning, John asked, "Want to go out to eat tonight? How about Kelly's downtown?" "No," Kathy snapped. "Tom and I used to go there. Let's try the new bar and grill near your work. I'll drive you and pick you up at 5. John agreed, and they went to Easton Ave, a new pub. The waitress and bartender seemed contemptuous as they entered. They sat in a back booth, and Kathy was shocked to see Tom walk in and sit at the bar. "Did you know he was coming?" she asked John. "No, of course not," he replied, smirking. Kathy knew he was lying. John got up, went to the bar, and pretended to notice Tom. "Hey, buddy, I didn't see you there." Tom just looked at him and went back to his drink. John smirked. "Don't get upset. She picked the best man, and it wasn't you." Tom replied, "Yeah, she picked you." John laughed and said, "That's right. She chose me over you," then walked away. Kathy was horrified. Tom didn't deserve this. She watched him finish his drink and approach her. The bartender told Tom his drink was on the house. Tom got up, walked over to Kathy, and faced her. "That was low, Kathy, even for you. Did you enjoy seeing me humiliated? I promised not to bother you, and I didn't. Do I get it now? You two were made for each other," Tom said with disgust. "I didn't know anything about this. You have to believe me. I didn't know you'd be here or that he'd do this," Kathy pleaded. "Why should I believe you after what you did? I don't trust you and I don't like him," Tom snapped. John walked over, grinning. "Are you still here?" Tom just stared at him, his hand clenched into a fist. Kathy recalled Tom teaching her how to punch properly, and she noticed fear flicker in John's eyes. A waitress approached with drinks. "This is no place for that, Tom." Without taking his eyes off John, Tom said, "You're probably right, Amanda." Tom backed away, then left the pub. John followed him to the exit, watching him go. Amanda placed the drinks on the table and said, "So you dumped Tom for that idiot? This is the third time he's done this to Tom." She walked away, shaking her head. When John returned, visibly upset, he demanded, "What did he talk to you about?" Before Kathy could respond, a man approached their table. "I'm Paul. I was at your wedding with Tom," he said. "I'm sorry, I don't remember you," Kathy replied. "I'm Tom's friend. Tonight's meal is on the house, but you need to leave immediately and never come back," Paul said. Kathy's face turned red with embarrassment. John laughed. Paul continued, "Tom won't cause trouble, but if he sees you again, run. He won't be merciful." John smirked. "I'm not afraid of him." "Don't say you weren't warned," Paul replied. Kathy ate in silence, furious with John for setting up Tom. She had liked Paul and his wife and wished she could come back, but John hadn't left a tip. That night, Kathy and John had their first serious fight. John was furious, unable to understand why she sided with Tom. Kathy realized John couldn't keep Tom away if Tom didn't want to stay away. She felt both sadness and relief, knowing that part of her life was over. Tears flowed as the memories became painful. She knew she had to keep going through the boxes. A week later, at work, Kathy saw Tom's cousin Janice enter, looking professional and furious. She approached Kathy with an attaché case. "You're not very good at keeping your promises, Kathy," Janice hissed. "I'm sorry, Janice. I didn't mean for this to happen." "But it did," Janice replied, picking up Kathy's nameplate. "Are you still Kathy Holden?" "Yes," Kathy answered. "Good," Janice said, putting the attaché case on the desk and pulling out a white folder. "You have been served." She then threw a black box on top of the folder. "You stupid, cheating witch. You hurt him. He's too good for you. His heart is broken. Maybe he'll find someone else. Listen to the CD. It's beautiful. My cousin was always too good for you," Janice shouted. As Janice turned to leave, Kathy heard someone yell, "Wait!" Grace got up and walked over to Janice. They talked briefly, and Janice shook her head in agreement. Grace handed something to Janice, who smiled, nodded again, and left, laughing. Grace returned to her desk with a smile. Kathy opened the box, pulling out a CD. There was no card this time, and only Rose and Lisa came to listen. Lisa asked, "Do you want to listen now or wait until the end of the day?" "In the car," Kathy replied. Janice said it was beautiful. Why not now? She inserted the disc, and Garth Brooks' The Dance played. The song's lyrics reflected Tom's feelings about their time together, despite the pain. Rose and Lisa cried, but Kathy did not. The office women were moved by the song. Kathy finally understood Tom's message. She put the CD back in the box, knowing she would see Tom one more time for the divorce finalization. The paper split everything 50-50ths, except for Tom's business, which she didn't care about. She signed the papers. A month after the 6-month waiting period, John and Kathy married. John's practice was doing well, and they bought a house near Tom's. As John's practice grew, he worked late. One Friday night, John's secretary called to say he'd be late. Kathy decided to bring him dinner at the office. When she arrived, she saw only 2 cars, Joan's and an unfamiliar one. She unlocked the office door and heard noises from an exam room. Opening the door, she found John with another woman. Furious, she threw the chicken cacciatore at them and stormed out. Kathy drove away, laughing at the absurdity, then called Lisa, who was at a bachelorette party. Kathy explained she needed to talk and agreed to meet outside the Easton Ave pub. Lisa warned her that Tom was there with a girl. Kathy didn't care. Kathy reflected on her situation. She now understood Tom's pain and humiliation from seeing her with John. She realized she had no one to turn to but her friends, just as Tom had endured his pain alone. Kathy opened her car door to let Lisa and Rose in. She was still sobbing softly. Lisa immediately asked what was wrong. Kathy, struggling to speak, eventually calmed down enough to recount what she had seen. "I saw a 40-year-old bleached blonde woman on the examination table with my new husband," Kathy growled. Neither Lisa nor Rose was surprised. They thought John was an idiot, and were more surprised it had taken Kathy so long to see it. They tried to support her, but didn't give her any slack. Rose said, "What goes around comes around." "I know," Kathy cried. "I feel betrayed and humiliated by John. Now I understand the pain and humiliation I caused Tom. I never felt it until now." Lisa and Rose exchanged glances, deciding not to scold Kathy further. Rosa asked, "What are you going to do next?" Kathy replied, "I don't know. I'm so confused." After a moment, she made a decision. "I'm going home to confront John. What he did is unacceptable." Lisa asked, "Do you want us to come with you?" Kathy replied, "No, I have to do this on my own." The girls got out of the car and watched Kathy drive away. They walked back to the pub and saw Tom at the bar. He greeted them warmly, but their response was cool. "I'm sorry," Tom said, puzzled. "I'll go." Lisa called out, "Tom, wait, it's not what you think. We need to talk to you." Tom checked with his dinner companion, who agreed. He joined Lisa and Rose at their table. "Why are you giving me a hard time?" he asked. Rose explained, "It's not you, we got some bad news tonight." Tom asked, "Is there anything I can do to help?" Lisa replied, "There probably is, but I don't think you'd want to." "What are you talking about?" Tom asked. Lisa said, "It has to do with Kathy." Tom's demeanor changed instantly. "What's she got to do with it?" "She just caught John cheating tonight," Lisa whispered. Tom's face went blank, then he laughed. "Karma's a witch," he said. "Why are you telling me this?" "Nothing," Rose replied. "We just wanted you to know why we came down today." Tom's attitude softened. "Where is she now?" "She went home to confront him," Lisa replied. "That's a bad idea. John's a coward, but he could damage a defenseless woman," Tom warned. Rose snapped, "If he's a coward, why didn't you fight for her?" Tom looked sad. "She said she loved him and didn't love me anymore. Fighting wouldn't change that. I was in a lose-lose situation. Do you understand now, Rose?" Rose nodded, embarrassed. Lisa asked, "So what are you going to do?" "Nothing. She's not my problem anymore," Tom replied. "You can't say that. You loved her once," Lisa reminded him. "That was a long time ago. People and things change," Tom said. Rose spoke up. "Tom, I've known you for 5 years and talked to Paul about you. You're highly regarded here. Even when fighting with friends, you still help them. Katie was your best friend, and despite the hurt, you didn't abandon her. Maybe it's your upbringing or military background, but you don't let people down. You won't change, Tom Holden," said Rose. Tom replied, "Rose, this is a family matter to be decided in court. It's her just reward. If she ever needs help, I'll be there, but this doesn't qualify. He hurt her, but she hurt me too. I'll stay out of their squabbles. Maybe she'll fight for this marriage. It's not for me to get involved now." After an awkward silence, Tom said, "Ladies, it would be nice to see you under different circumstances. Hopefully we can have a drink and laugh next time. Now I need to get back to my date." As he walked away, he added, "Remember, if anything bad happens, let me know." Both girls nodded. They watched Tom return to his table. His companion seemed to scold him, but then placed her hand on his and said, "I understand." Tom pushed his food away, and they eventually left. Lisa and Rose wondered how Kathy would handle confronting John. They paid the bill and left the bar in low spirits. On Monday and Tuesday, Kathy called in sick. Lisa, concerned but hesitant, called John's office on Tuesday. It was open and John was working. Lisa left a message for Kathy, who didn't respond. Lisa and Rosa decided to visit Kathy's house if she didn't return to work on Wednesday. At 9:05 a.m. Wednesday, Kathy arrived at work, wearing large sunglasses to hide bruises. Lisa and Rose quickly took her to the ladies' room. They saw the damage and asked what happened. Kathy, through tears, recounted the events. When Kathy got home, John yelled, "Where have you been? Who were you talking to? Why did you throw food at us? She was an important customer." Kathy replied, "So important that you had to entertain her on your exam table?" John, furious, growled, "From now on, if I want to work late, you'll have to put up with it. If you don't like it, you can leave. Do you understand?" Kathy nodded, horrified. John told her to go clean up. The next morning, Kathy woke with a swollen face. She spent the day trying to reduce the swelling, relieved John was absent. He returned Sunday afternoon without explanation, and Kathy didn't ask. That night, John wanted entertainment, but Kathy declined. John left again on Monday after showering and changing clothes, heading back to the office. The girls listened in silence, first shocked by Kathy's story, then angry at John's callousness. Lisa suggested, "Go to the police and have him arrested for assault." "No!" Katie cried. "I want this marriage to work. I've already messed up one marriage." The women exploded. "He did something disgusting to you. Do you think this is the last time?" Rosa shouted. "I know," Katie replied. "I just can't give up so quickly." Lisa got angry. "I don't know what to do. I'm giving up," she said, and walked away. Rose left too, but not before taking a quick picture on her phone. She knew exactly what she was going to do. Rose left work early and drove to Tom's store. She parked and walked to the door where Tom was working on a car. He grabbed a rag and smiled as Rose approached. "Good to see you, Rose. Are you having car trouble?" he asked. "No, I need to talk to you in private," she said. Tom looked puzzled, but led her to a small office. Rose finally blurted out, "Katie's having problems with John." Tom's expression turned to anger. "Any problems with that creep are no longer my concern," he said. "Remember when you gave her the Beatles box?" she asked. "Yeah, it didn't work out. She ripped my heart out. Why should I care now?" Tom ranted. Rose pulled out her phone and showed him the picture of Kathy's bruises. "What do you want from me?" he asked. "Are you going to do something? You said you'd protect her," Rose said. "Call the police." "It looks like assault to me," Tom replied. "That's it? That's all you have to say?" Rose was furious. She had an affair. She broke her vows. "Why should I care about her pain?" Tom asked. "Because you love her. Isn't that a good reason?" Rose declared. "I loved her once, but not anymore. Tell her to call the police. I won't get involved," Tom stated. Rose shook her head. "You surprised me today. I thought better of you." Tom stood up, anger flaring. "She's not my wife. She chose him over me. She made her bed. Let her lie in it. Tell her to get a divorce." "I'm sorry if I disappointed you, Rose, but I just can't," he replied. Rose left the office, apologizing to Tom as she got into her car. "I'm sorry I bothered you today. I hope I didn't ruin your evening." Tom stood in the middle of the shop, watching her go. Rose didn't respond. She looked through her windshield at Tom's face. It was hard to read. Pain, anger, contempt, hatred, maybe a mix of all. Whatever his emotions, he chose not to help. Rose started the car and drove off, thinking, "Katie, you've really screwed this up." She had been so sure Tom would help, but she had failed. She didn't know how to help Kathy now. Kathy came to work on Thursday and Friday. By Monday, she was noticeably more irritable. But then, on Monday morning, something changed. Kathy walked in, said hi to everyone, and even smiled, something she hadn't done in a long time. Lisa and Rose pulled her into the women's restroom and locked the door. "What's going on, Katie? What happened?" asked Lisa. "John was attacked Friday night outside his office. Whoever did it made him promise to apologize to me and threatened to come back if he didn't. John doesn't know who it was, but I do," Kathy said. "How do you know?" asked Rose. "I heard him cursing my ex-husband, Tom, in the shower," Kathy giggled. "How did he know about it?" Rose asked. "I told him on Wednesday after work," Rose admitted. Kathy hugged Rose and thanked her. She told her friends she was leaving John and getting a divorce. "Don't thank me, Katie. I didn't strike up your husband," Rose said. "Maybe you should thank Tom yourself." "I don't know, Rose. He's not too fond of me right now," Kathy replied. "I know, but you should still thank him in person," Rose insisted. Lisa, Rose, and Kathy went to the Easton Ave pub. They sat at a table near Tom, who was deep in thought, sipping his drink. Lisa gestured for Kathy to go over. Nervous, Kathy approached her ex-husband and sat next to him, noticing his bandaged arm. "That must really hurt," she said, touching his bandaged hand. Without looking at her, Tom replied, "It's not that bad. What do you need, Katie?" "Please, I just want to talk, not fight." "Do you mind?" He nodded. "I want to thank you for what you did on Friday. I know it was you. After everything I did, you still helped me when I needed someone. I had to thank you in person," she said. Tom finally turned to face her, pulling his bandaged hand away. "You wanted to thank me. It wasn't necessary. Were you worried about me that morning when you left me? Did you care about my pain? No. You only cared about yourself. Why do you care now? You got what you wanted. A doctor's wife instead of a mechanic's. So you used me. My hands hurt, my girlfriend dumped me for helping you, and I could still go to jail. Tomorrow, you'll have someone else in your bed. The only company I have is my pain. Why don't you go away, all three of you? Leave me alone." Katie shook her head at Tom's words. Looking her straight in the eye, he said, "Just leave." Kathy's face went pale. She hadn't realized how much pain he was in until now. Before John's bullying, She hadn't thought about what Tom went through. Now she understood the pain, betrayal, and humiliation she caused him. Katie started to speak, but he silenced her with a wave of his bandaged hand. "If you don't leave, then I will," he spat. He quickly slid off the bar stool and left, giving Rose and Lisa a disapproving glance as he passed. Katie was shaken, looking at the women with a confused expression. "Go after him, Kathy," Lisa urged. The women ran out and saw Tom driving away in his truck. They went to Lisa's house to discuss the night, unhappy with how things turned out. Katie pulled out the last blue box. There was no note. She put the CD into the player and listened to Randy Travis sing "I Told You So." She remembered a Wednesday night when a small package addressed to her arrived in the mail. From the handwriting, she knew it was from Tom. Kathy opened the box at Lisa's apartment, crying as she listened to the song. "Suppose I call you tonight and tell you I love you. And suppose I said I want to come home, and suppose I cried and said I think I finally learned my lesson and I'm tired of spending all my time alone. If I told you that I realize that you're all I need and it's eliminating me to be so far away, will you tell me you love me too? And will we cry together? Or will you just laugh at me and say, 'I told you. Oh, I told you. I told you that one day you would come crawling back and ask me to take you in. I told you, but you had to leave. Now I've found a new man, and you'll never break my heart in two again.'" Kathy's heart broke again, just like that night at Lisa's. Tom was done with her. He would never let her back into his life. For the first time in a long while, Katie burst into tears. She realized how foolish she had been to give up what she had with Tom. Shortly after receiving the box, Kathy quit her job at the insurance company and took a receptionist job at a local doctor's office. It didn't pay well, but she avoided the judgment from her former coworkers. She stayed with Lisa for 3 months before renting a small apartment from an elderly patient. Her divorce from John was progressing, and she began receiving alimony. Combined with her job, it was enough to pay her rent. Kathy tried to reconnect with Tom, calling and leaving messages, but he never responded. This made her more determined. She sent emails to his address, but there was no reply. Kathy and Lisa planned a night out on Friday. Kathy picked Lisa up and drove to her apartment. When they arrived, they were surprised to see Tom's cousin Janice and Katie's former co-worker Grace in the parking lot. "What are they doing here?" wondered Lisa aloud. "I have no idea, but I don't like seeing Janice again. And why is Grace with her?" Kathy was perplexed. Lisa had an idea but kept quiet. They got out of the car and cautiously approached Janice and Grace. Janice waited until Kathy and Lisa were close before speaking. "Hi, Kathy," Janice said. "Grace and I need to talk to you about something important. Can we go inside and talk privately?" Kathy was wary, remembering their last encounter. "What is this about, Janice? I don't want any trouble," she replied. "Why don't you leave her alone? Why bring up old wounds?" Lisa pleaded. Grace looked sympathetically at Lisa and Kathy. "I would, but Kathy needs to know about this. Please, can we talk inside?" she asked. Confused, Kathy looked to Lisa, who nodded. "Let's go inside," Kathy agreed. Inside Kathy's home, they made small talk, complimenting her decorating. Finally, seated at the kitchen table, Grace got to the point. "Kathy, I know you've been sending letters, emails, and calls to Tom," Grace began. "What business is it of yours? It's a free country. If I want to call him, I will." "He never told me to stop," Kathy retorted. "He wants you to stop. He's too polite to tell you, afraid you won't take it well," Grace informed her. "Kathy," Janice interjected, "please hear us out. We don't want to make things difficult. You need to know that Tom and Grace are getting married next Saturday." Kathy was shocked, her eyes watering. She couldn't speak. "Kathy, please stop contacting Tom. I'm a jealous woman and won't be comfortable with another woman trying to reach my new husband. Too bad you never understood the gift." "I knew its meaning when I first heard 'When I Fall in Love' on your CD player," Grace added. Janice pulled out a thin red box and handed it to Kathy. "Listen to the CD inside. We're sorry about how things turned out. But you needed to know," Janice said gently. After Janice and Grace left, Kathy turned to Lisa. "Did you know about this?" "Yes," Lisa admitted guiltily. "Grace told us a few weeks ago. I didn't know how to tell you. I knew it would hurt." Kathy inserted the CD into her machine. The Shirelles' 1963 hit, "Foolish Little Girl," played. "You broke his heart and made him cry, and now he's found someone new. Foolish little girl, you didn't want him when he wanted you. He's found another love, and there's nothing you can do about it." Katie realized Janice was right. There was nothing she could do to fix her life. She needed to stop trying to reclaim what she had lost. She knew it was her fault. Tom and Grace were probably celebrating their marriage now, and she wasn't even a thought. She finally understood what the gift was: Tom's love, something she had carelessly discarded, but Grace had recognized immediately. Frustrated, she realized too late the value of what she had lost.